Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I have a few reminders while folks are still joining before we get started. We like to keep our webinars conversational and welcome your questions throughout. You can send the questions to the panel through our Q&A button located on your Zoom control panel. We will try to answer as many as we can live, but if you don't get your questions, if we don't get to your question, we'll be sure to follow up with you afterwards. You can follow today's conversation on Twitter as we'll be live tweeting throughout the webinar @_Rio SEO and using the hashtag Rio Webinar. Finally, we will send a link to the webinar recording within the next 24 hours, so look out for a follow-up email from our marketing team. My name's Scott McNulty, and I'm the Director of Business Development at Rio SEO, and I'll be moderating today's discussion. Today, we're joined by a fantastic panel to help us discuss how to create an exceptional online brand presence by building your online reputation. I'm joined today by Nigel Atkinson, an account director at Rio SEO, who oversees online reputation management and strategy for his many clients, as well as Karen Pace, director of social and content marketing at Randstad, a staffing agency that connects job seekers and employers hiring in finance, technology, admin, and more. Karen oversaw a reputation management revamp for Randstad that resulted in improving their overall star rating and developing template responses for their support team. Today, we will discuss how online reputation management has evolved in just the past year, tools and tactics for managing reviews at scale, and how to align your reputation management strategy with emerging platforms such as Google Maps and more. Karen and Nigel, can you briefly introduce yourselves and your background in online reputation?
After you, Karen.
Thank you. My name is Karen Pace, and I'm the Director of Social and Content Marketing at Randstad USA. I have been at Randstad for almost 6 years, but I've been in the social media space for 15. So I might be a little bit of a unicorn in that respect. But my team manages not just social strategy, but employee advocacy and reputation management and review response. So we have the unique opportunity to bring that perspective to this conversation, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Nigel?
Hi, my name is Nigel Atkinson. I'm an account director with Rio SEO. I handle multi-location businesses using the Rio SEO software for local search and obviously reputation as well. We have clients in the retail, finance, hospitality, healthcare, staffing, etc. Pleased to say that I've probably known Karen for about 6 years as well. They've been a client for a very long time. So welcome to the webinar.
That's fantastic. I'm thrilled to be here with both of you today. I'm sure you're going to bring a lot of fantastic insights to today's discussion. Before we jump in, we want to get started with a quick audience poll to get more insight into your current reputation management strategy. So, do you currently respond to positive and negative reviews? There are 5 answers to choose from. We only respond to positive reviews. We only respond to negative reviews. We respond to both positive and negative reviews. We don't respond to any reviews, and we don't respond to reviews yet, but would like to get started. Take a second to respond to those questions real quickly, and we'll see what happens. Okay, let's see the magic work here with our poll. Answer should be coming up quickly. All right. Wow. So about 78% of you said we respond to both positive and negative reviews, and I think that's fantastic for today's discussion. I think that's going to give us some insight. About 11% say we do not respond to any reviews, and 6% say we don't respond to reviews yet, but would like to do so. That's fantastic. So that gives us a great starting point, and we can kind of kick that off with that in mind. So to kick off today's discussion, let's start with a focus on strategy. We know reputation best practices are always constantly evolving, and business reviews are holding more weight than ever when it comes to local search rankings. Nigel, how have reviews best practices evolved over the past years as features in Google business profiles have evolved? An example, keywords are being highlighted in reviews in the knowledge panel now.
Great, thanks, Scott. Yeah, I think the poll was quite interesting in that a lot of people are responding to reviews. I think the best practices are somewhat similar to a year ago. And the problem, I think, is companies are really not responding fast enough. And obviously in the poll there, not responding at all. And we all know that a faster review response time, they're closely related to having a positive reputation. I think customers sort of expect businesses to respond to negative reviews within, say, a week. I think 1 in 3 have a shorter time frame of 3 days or less. So the expectation is quite high. And then my understanding is that many reviewers say at least one company they reviewed never even responded. That doesn't leave a great taste in your mouth when you are a user. It's also worth noting that review interaction has increased by about 50% since the pandemic hit. Wow. So I think consumers they have now a heightened sensitivity about where to go, what to purchase in the wake of the pandemic, which, as we know, is still not quite over yet. And then the other takeaway is customers don't really respond or trust companies with lower than 4-star ratings. In fact, the most common filter that's applied is to really only see companies that have a 4-star rating or higher. So I think best practices, without going into too many details, which I know Karen will talk about later on, bottom line is you have to respond, and you have to respond quickly.
Fantastic, and that makes a lot of sense. Karen, I want to dive deeper into Randstad's own reputation management strategy. Randstad USA overall has seen noticeable strides in their branches' ratings, their customer satisfaction, and engagement on their local listings. To start, how do you encourage buy-in from internal teams to move forward with a reputation management solution?
That's a great question, actually. So Randstad USA, we're a staffing company. We're the largest human resources service provider in the world. The US is part of the Randstad family, which is global, but we take that global and then we drill it down to really look at our customer base. Our customers are candidates who are looking for jobs and clients who are looking to fill those jobs. Now, how do we move forward? I'm on the marketing team. I need to make that create that partnership that works together with our operations business and really get buy-in. But what's buy-in? Buy-in's really shorthand for partnership. We needed to understand from our operations business partners what their day looked like, what their bandwidth was, how they operated, how they engaged with the audience, which is candidates and client. And then we were able to bring to them an understanding about reviews, how they work, why they're important, what it means if we don't do it, and the benefit to all of us if we do it correctly. We're able to reach that mutual understanding of what that program entails. Really, I mean, Nigel, you said it perfectly. Google My Business does really 2 things for us. The review management system drives customer trust. We all know that the business vertical is severely lacking in the trust area at the moment, but also we're building loyalty and relationship. Randstad's creed is to be human forward, and our Google My Business responses are part of that. But also, Google My Business contributes to our actual business. It drives an increase in website visits and calls to the offices and directions lookups and applies, which again, as a staffing agency, is really very important to us. But that buy-in, that partnership is something that marketing and operations had to do together. One of us could not have done it by ourselves. And that's key.
That's fantastic. Randstad USA developed templated responses for reviews that do not require further escalation. Employees can refer to the review and response matrix to help with responses based on the context of any given review. Karen, how do you develop your template review request language? What does this look like in practice? And does it vary from positive to negative reviews?
Another good question. Really, as with anything that you're doing, you need a solid foundation, right? We understood the foundation and we created a system. We started with a HR and legal approved response matrix, because again, marketing or business, we can't do that on our own. We have to really bring in the entire business to make those decisions. Our response matrix says, a user says this, we say this, right? It provides scenarios that are negative, but also neutral and positive. But also we're in the people business, we're humans. And at the end of the day, inside of our system, we allow flexibility to layer in that personalization and humanity into our review response. We do have an SLA. We respond to all 3-star and below reviews, every one of them. And our initial time frame was a 5 to 10 business day period. But now we've really shrunk that down and we've given our team flexibility. So standard would be 3 to 5 business days. but our team is doing that on a daily basis at the moment. And we respond to positive and negative reviews. Our matrix allows for both of those. Good question.
That's fantastic. I mean, you guys are obviously doing a great job with it already. But when you receive negative reviews, Karen, how do you discern which reviews require escalation and which of those reviews or how are those reviews routed through which channels?
Absolutely. We do have an escalation path. If a review is even potentially actionable, I mean, it's not that 2-star review with no comment, but a potentially actionable item, we respond and we invite that user to take the review offline. We ask them to send an email to our specially designated social care email address. It's called wehearyou@ronstadusa.com. And if that user sends an email, we escalate. We share that feedback with the team and the location and their leadership so that the team can work to hopefully resolve that issue if possible. And we provide an avenue really for that user to feel heard. And then we open the dialogue to address those concerns. I think that's key, whether it's somebody who has had an unfortunate experience with an office or somebody looking for their W-2, which is very popular at the moment. It's an escalation path, and we respond in the manner that allows them to feel heard and seen and move it forward.
Again, great best practices. So let's switch gears to an issue many industries face, spam reviews. Not all customer reviews are written by customers. Some people write fake reviews as a way to promote or slander a brand. Some companies will even post fake reviews about their competitors as a way to get a leg up in their industry. Nigel, how can you monitor and identify spam reviews? What's the process for flagging these in GPB or GBP as it's new? I'm still getting used to the new name, and Yelp?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, I'm still confused over that. GMB, GBP. But yeah, so both Google and Yelp, they do offer automated systems against that kind of fake or spam reviews. Google uses its algorithms. They do use a team as well of actual people that can help to tackle fake reviews and listings. Yelp seems to focus on more the integrity of their reviews. And I actually personally think they do a better job than Google. And then they also have better punishment for offenders, which is nice. But as we all know, it doesn't always work. They still get through the net. So there are ways to search for possible fake or spam reviews. You could obviously use a review management platform if it allows keyword phrase searches. You can report them to Google via Business Profile Manager, and for Yelp through biz.yelp.com, or you can report them through the Yelp app. One step up from that would be NLP, or natural language processing. It's a little bit of a step further. That can also help identify rogue and spam reviews. Reporting them individually is fairly easy. You can individually locate the review and report them. And then of course, if you have a managed service, such as Rio, then the team can do that for you.
Fantastic. I think we covered all the bases there. Google has strict guidelines for adhering to their solicitation policy. Starting businesses can't discourage or prohibit negative reviews or selectively solicit positive reviews from customers. Karen, how does Randstad ask for reviews without being too spammy or violating Google's review solicitation guidelines?
Oh yeah, I love this question. Really, at Randstad, we're looking for the opportunities to share real experiences, right? We're not in it for that spam, that the impersonal review response. So what we do is we ask our candidates after interactions with them. The requests that we're asking for are not automated. Even though I understand that that's a fantastic tool and a lot of businesses really need that, we don't automate that experience. We provide templates, but we don't automate it. That's why that buy-in for the operations team is essential. And if you read our reviews, you will definitely see those real life experiences.
Great. Apple Maps built-in ratings and photo systems started rolling out to the US and Canada in mid-2021, letting users add their own information to points of interest on the map via Mac rumors. The system uses a thumbs up or a thumbs down rating and currently exists alongside Apple Maps' existing integrations like Yelp, TripAdvisor, and Foursquare. Nigel, how should businesses factor this into their rep management strategy, knowing Apple Maps is another key review player?
Yeah, that is a good question. And obviously, since Apple Maps doesn't allow for any kind of written response, it's obviously the Netflix style thumbs up, thumbs down. It kind of works for TV shows and it works for movies. I'm not sure how well it works for other verticals like retail, healthcare, etc. And it can make it really difficult for the brand to know why the review was negative and gauge any kind of sentiment whatsoever. It has pluses. Users can't rant on about the brand, and it's pretty hard to spam with that system. However, Apple Maps does offer multiple business attributes. They are dependent on the category. So for example, a restaurant would allow a thumbs up, thumbs down as a general rating, and then they can go in and see, customer service, food, drink, and rate those individual things. The important thing, I think, here is to make sure your category is the best one for your brand. The bad news is Apple Maps doesn't offer every category. So there's some categories that don't have attributes at all, and some only have one or two. So I think the main takeaway here is make sure you have the right category for your business. There's a huge list of Apple Maps categories, and then hopefully Apple Maps in the future will add more attributes to make the ratings more granular.
Absolutely. We know they want to be a player in this space, and they're going to make a larger effort here soon. So hopefully they open up more of that to brands that allow them to take advantage of it for sure.
Yeah.
Well, now that we spent some time discussing reputation management strategy, let's dive into best practices for managing your online reputation at scale for each of your locations. Karen, we've established that reputation management is a priority. But for brands with many locations, like Randstad, how can they best manage this at scale, especially if their resources are limited?
I love the question because at scale really is about prioritization. We have more than 400 locations, right? We are a lean marketing team. We're a lean operations team, but we put 100,000 people to work. So combine all of those numbers. How do you do it? Prioritization. Organizations like ours, like yours, have UX, right? Might have an entire department who's concerned about user experience or customer experience. How do you translate that into reviews? Well, that is all about prioritization. You have to see that review response, that review solicitation and response as important as website UX, as important as your customer service or call center. They are all one user experience that has to be through messaging, through representation of the brand, and those are just as important as each other. Now I realize, we've got the UX departments for our websites because, of Google. I get it. There are some ramifications there. But if you think about the ramifications of a poor reputation online in any of the sources that we've discussed, if you think about those ramifications, and you think about the benefits, again, traffic to your website, in our event, phone calls and directions to locations, and applies on our site. A lot of that is coming from those reputation channels. And so you can't ignore it. You have to treat it as important as some of the other things that you're doing that contribute to user experience. And it's probably easier said than done, but it is absolutely vital. Any more than if you overlooked one or the other, you're not really serving your audience. And we are in a culture of audience first approach. You have to do it, and you have to do it better. It has to be a priority.
1,000%. I mean, unfortunately, I've been in this business 10 years, and I've never seen anything change search like reviews have. And it's become so important to that user experience and that customer journey that it's just something that brands have to have a proactive approach to helping their consumers understand that. Nigel, knowing some brands are working with limited resources for managing online reputation, what websites or platforms should a business absolutely actively monitor their online presence? Are there any that deserve top priority, or does that vary by vertical?
Well, obviously there's one that stands out from the crowd. But we did talk about Apple Maps just recently, and we might want to add them to the list. But if you go by raw numbers, about 88% of all reviews come from the top 4 review sites. So if you're going to focus on something, then you should probably focus on those 4, maybe add in Apple Maps as well. I mean, they have the most domain authority and they impact reputation the most, obviously. And obviously we know Google is number 1. They actually hold somewhere around 73% of the market, followed by Yelp in a distant second. TripAdvisor, which is an interesting one. They're actually big in Europe for restaurant reviews versus Yelp. And then Facebook. And then obviously, depends on whose research you read as to what order places 2, 3, and 4 sit on. But they are definitely the ones that you would want to focus on. Smaller directories are just not players anymore.
Sure.
I mean, nobody goes to, Yellow Pages. They have a rating system, and just to see if they have anybody leaving reviews. I checked one out yesterday. It was probably the first time in 10 years I've been to Yellow Pages, and there wasn't anything really there. So stick to the top 4 and then watch out for Apple Maps.
Yeah, I agree. Karen, we got a great question that I think is perfect for you. And the question is simply this: how can you improve recruiting talent online with reputation management?
I love that. That's
Yes,
our
just came
bread
in. It's
and butter.
great.
But I'm actually going to piggyback off of what Nigel just said.
Perfect.
And that answers this question. Nigel said, focus on the channel that's most important to you. So when you think about talent recruiting online and you think about Google for Jobs or your reviews on Indeed, because, for example, if you Google a job right now, Google for Jobs brings up your review ratings right next to your jobs. That was game changing for recruiting. And if you're not a recruiting business, you might not have automatically thought of how important that was to you. So I think, to Nigel's point, focus on the channel that's most important to you, and you can practice at home by, again, Googling a job at
Sure.
a job that your organization is advertising for. Again, you don't have to be staffing to do this, but you can see how your rating, your star rating on a variety of channels actually impacts your placement in that job search. Again, a lot of employers, they turn to some of these others. It's an easy trick on everything, especially in social media. We have to be everywhere. No, you have to be everywhere.
Yeah.
You have to be where your audience is and doing it the right way and connecting with your audience in the way they want to receive it. So really, staffing or not, that's a great question about recruiting and sourcing. Think about the way that your reviews and your star ratings help you show up in the places that you're trying to show up. For example, Google for Jobs.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. That's spot on.
Yeah, great question.
More laser-like than shotgun, right? Yeah, Nigel, go ahead. Did you have something there?
I was going to say that, yeah, recruiting is a real issue right now. It's super tough, as everybody decides they want to do something different,
Absolutely. Awesome. That was great, you guys. Thank you. So positive reviews not only build trust with potential customers, but also impact your bottom line. Our own research shows that 75% of local consumers agree that first-party reviews displayed on a brand's website are likely to influence their purchasing decisions. So Karen, how can brands capitalize on positive feedback, such as first-party reviews, email campaigns, social media, etc.? How does Randstad extend the reach of the positive feedback it receives?
I actually made a great list, and I'm going to share it really from our perspective, because I think the most obvious, right, is to take that positive review and turn it into content. For example, put a positive review from someone into a social post and share that testimonial with your audience. Highlight a review about how your team supplied, for example, candidates for a peak hiring opportunity into your newsletter that goes out to all your clients. Post a review about how a recruiter specifically helped someone with their resume into the middle of an article about resume writing. Again, you fill in your words, these are my words. Or what we do every single week is we spotlight employees who got shout outs in reviews in our internal company newsletter. We have some fantastic opportunities, some storytelling where people have said, you changed my life, or you didn't look down on me because of COVID, or whatever it was. An example, even when somebody just says they put me in a place that I fit at the pay I need to live on. That is a great, great example of how we really did what we set out to do every single day. And it's put people to work and help organizations find people for the right fit. But that's something that we highlight internally and externally. Now I'm going to take it a step further, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
I also made a list of ways that we take not just positive reviews, but positive and negative reviews and use those to help us make decisions to either proactively address an issue or to resolve an issue if we hear about it first in a review. So we've been very fortunate enough to be able to quickly address a technical issue that our audience pointed out to us in a review. Have somebody from the outside tell you that something's not working, we're able to hop right on that We've been able to really more heavily support locations with high positive or high negative reviews by using that user feedback to teach us about patterns and about seasonality. And we've been able to elevate those employees that I mentioned who consistently get good reviews for their location internally and of course up the ladder. So really it's not just blasting out that somebody said something good about you, which is also, I mean, it's a good idea. That's a testimonial, share it with the world. We're not humble bragging, really just feel free to say it, but also really taking the positive and negative, internalizing it, applying that to customer experience and seeing how you can make that customer experience better, or if it's already great, how you can make it better.
Fantastic. Nigel, I know you have a lot of experience in this space. Is there anything else that you want to add to that as well?
Yeah, I actually wanted to add something which was more along the lines of a local SEO piece. Not just, I mean, reputation does impact it, obviously. But if you're a multi-location business and you get, let's just say, 1 million views per month from your local locations, and then you have a bad review and that user doesn't click through, the click-through ratio is highly important for Google. It's going to affect your ranking and they'll move on to a competitor if you're not able to fix that specific issue of a low rating for those locations. So it's highly important.
Great, fantastic. Well, that's going to look like that's going to wrap it up for today's discussion. We've covered a lot today, and I hope you found it to be informative and actionable. If there are any questions we didn't get to, we'll make sure to follow up afterward. We'd also be happy to answer any questions that you didn't have a chance to ask if you'd like to shoot us a note at marketing@RioSEO. I'd like to thank everyone for joining today's discussion, and a special thank you to our panelists, Karen and Nigel, for taking the time to be with us today. We'll be sending out the webinar recording within the next 24 hours. We also publish a free guide to managing local reviews at scale, and we'll send that along with the recording. It was a pleasure to moderate today's discussion. As a reminder, we host these types of local search conversations every month, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thank you, everybody. Karen and Nigel, I absolutely enjoyed my time with you today, and I look forward to meeting you or talking to you both soon.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.